Our next speaker is Pedro Sanhueza Perez, who's going to be talking about regulating SATCOMs with strategic environmental impact assessments.
Well, hello. I'm here in the name of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chile, just an external advisor. So in case of any complaint, please, Mila Francisco is here. So I can speak freely. Well, my talk is, please don't forget environmental impact assessment because it has been for a long period of time one of the tools we have in environment to protect the environment. So the important thing is how to move this. Well, all we know this. We have projects for 10,000 or more than that, which is impossible, of course, and it's a runaway process. And of course, radio astronomy, optical astronomy, but also the not well-known sometimes or well not considered amateur astronomy and even cultural activity related with the night sky are also compromised with all this. Here we have a study. Basically, we say here, don't forget the ground light pollution. Last year, we published a study in which we put the 28 main observatories in the world and checked the information provided by satellite, sorry, and check at the zenith over our heads, which is the situation considering 1% of the variation over natural values of darkness. So most of the observatories, of the main observatories in the world, are out of this 1% variation over these 22 magnitudes typical for a dark, really dark night sky place. So it's so small, but basically the Lick Observatory, Calar Alto, for example, are out of that limit. And in the case of the observatories in northern Chile, we are below in general, but not all of them. Cerro Tololo is in danger, and many others, even the new projects are in danger. So if we, yeah, good. And if we go to the next one, here we're using almost a similar approach to the limit put by the Astronomical International Union in 1979, in which said that we should not move more than 10% of the natural values at 45 degrees. This is almost similar to this. We are using CPS information and check again the observatories, put sites where we are building new telescopes, sites with the traditional observatories, and even cultural sites here, it will be on your right. And using this limit of 10%, we have many, and most of the sites relevant for new projects, amateur observatories, the traditional observatories, and all the cultural observatories are out of the limit of 10% of the International Astronomical Union. But if we follow the results of some of the studies of Miroslav Kochifas, we are using some of the same point spread function from him, all of the blue lines will be moving up, and by this moment, only adding the space debris in the wall, all of the observatories, but all of them are out of the limit of 10% of the International Astronomical Union. So if we add to the ground light pollution the present orbital pollution, all of the observatories are apart from that limit and are not able to cover that limit. So all the astronomy, nowadays, putting the two of them, the two sources of light pollution, are out of a dark national place, which is 22 magnitudes, as I said. So this is the present situation, and it was demonstrated last year. So think about the ancestral situation we provoked to the many cultural activities. The reduce of the darkness is affecting even our health, or is probably near to provoke effects even in our health, in the cities, for example. In terms of view of the environment, we are perhaps not near the limits of affecting ecosystems, but with the amount of project for satellite constellation, that will happen in the perhaps near future too. Of course, we are in Europe under a scenario of a war. If we have a war in Europe, basically the rest of the world have to take care. And we don't know, something could happen over there and could destroy some orbits easily. And also, we have a very positive result treaty, which is the ozone layer protection treaty. And perhaps because of this new challenge, we will be affecting this treaty, which was a good example of international cooperation. And, well, one option it could be the environmental impact assessment, but this implies some requirements, some conditions, and I will hurry up. Basically, when you have an environmental impact assessment, you have to have good information about the projects. So one of the big questions that we have right now is, are we going to have good information, comprehensive information of the projects of satellite constellation? If we consider the military, we don't have information, for example. A second requirement is to know well the environment. And in this case, we don't know the relationship between the biosphere, the atmosphere, and the near space environment over us. So, from the technical perspective, it's not correct to invade the space with such an amount of projects without having a correct information of the environment over us and the interaction between the different categories of this space, the near space surrounding environment. So, we need to go here quickly, understand very soon, apply models, study the chemistry, the relationship with the weather, etc., and connect all this with our environment inland and the nice sky environment. And if having this information, this is just the moment in which we start evaluating the impact of those constellations. Otherwise, we are doing a very dangerous experiment, global experiment, without having the consequence. Which for me is so evident because I work every day on environmental impact assessments, sorry. So if we want to apply measures, we have to know the environment, know very well which are the projects, and evaluate the impact, and then act. And of course, enforcement is a big problem, for sure, but this is the typical step of the precautionary and the preventive approach, which was set in the United Nations Conference on the Environment many years ago. So we have to apply this knowledge, this new level of understanding how to deal with the nature in this case. But we are not doing this. And another big problem that we have is that the United Nations, according to my personal opinion, is not very fond of in terms of coordination. I have insisted, and many of us have insisted on inviting here the United Nations Program on Environment. And we have 3 or 4 conferences waiting for that. Simply invite one person of that other body of the United Nations because we need coordination. And it's not happening, which is a demonstration that we are not doing the job properly. Because if they don't talk with the community, with the astronomical community, with the science community, and here I have to say that the environmental community is not doing properly the job because of climate disaster, is a demonstration of that. But here we are not talking about environment easily. Thanks to Ruskin, he provides information about the environment, so good, so thanks for all that. And so another problem that we have is that environmental impact assessment is well known. It's a tool in many countries, so it can be used easily in this area, having the information, of course, of the space over us and the relationship with the biosphere. But the problem is we don't have enough experience in terms of strategic environmental impact assessment, to how to coordinate all this knowledge needed to carry out a proper evaluation of the impact. So perhaps this is one of the weaknesses of the proposal, but at least we have a tool which is typically used in environment, and I don't know why it's not used in every condition of our human activity when we deal with the environment or the space outside us. So that's only a proposal. It has to be part of a bigger picture, of course, but please don't forget this, because it's a tool that we know we have to work to obtain information properly about the environment over us, and it could be part of the solution. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, we have plenty of time for questions. Richard?
Were these the arguments that you used to convince the Chilean government to get the constellation operators to do that kind of environmental assessment before getting their licenses?
Well, we are moving to that. We have 3 standards related with light pollution. The new one, which we finished last year, and it has to be approved soon, includes, it's a modification of the scope. The first light pollution norm that we had in Chile was basically astronomically oriented. The second one, too, it was basically devoted to control LEDs. But the third one is environmentally oriented. It's basically for environment issues. In that way, we are obliging most of the companies of the country, in the whole country, to do this environmental impact assessment, or at least demonstrate that they are complying with the new standards. So the new Chilean standard on light pollution is basically environmental. And our plan is that in the future, we will incorporate health issues in order to complement the protection, adding the impact over our health, which is completely demonstrated. We don't need much evidence to convince, because the evidence is here, like in environment too. That's the global idea, but of course it has to be international to be effective.
Any other questions? All right, well, let's thank Pedro again.
Thank you.